Hi, I'm Claire Louise Hay and this is Be Healing. Today I'll be sharing a story I've never told in full before about healing my own body and what it really takes to believe in your own power again. This week I want to tell you about a story about myself, one I've never fully shared before, but I think it will give you insight into how we can heal our bodies and also how we can sometimes harm them. I was in my 20s. Married to the wrong person, of course. I was working in corporate IT, doing all the things I thought people were supposed to do. Find someone, settle down, buy a house, get the car, go on as many holidays as possible, accumulate the fancy stuff, get an even bigger house, more stuff. I thought I was winning, and I kind of was on paper, doing life right. But I was unhappy on the inside. It's hard to describe that feeling, but the wins, and there were many wins, were fleeting. The sense of achievement disappeared so fast. I had a high-paying job. I wasn't even working full-time. I worked term time. I had a 6-bedroom house. I was renovating it beautifully. I was being creative, getting it exactly how I wanted it. But I was reaching the end of the list of things to work toward because I had it all. And still I felt empty. I was thinking a bigger house with a bigger garden might do it. But this constant pursuit of something else that might make me feel better started to seem so futile. There had to be more to life than this. If this was all there was to life, then I'd already done it all before I was even 30. At the time, I took up running, very apt, because it was easier to run away than it was to run home. One day after a run, I came home, I took off my shoe and saw my sock was soaked in blood. You see, I used to wear a toe ring and it slipped underneath my toenail and it had lifted it during the run. And that 30-minute run did a lot of damage. The toenail started to grow upwards. So I went to see a podiatrist who told me there was nothing he could do. The nail bed was damaged. So that was in my 20s. I'm 54 now. For over 30 years, I've been filing that nail horizontally. It was a mess. Fast forward to a few months ago. I had frozen shoulders, one of the many delights that menopause brings. Now, I'm an athlete and I'm in tune with my body. And what this felt like to me, and of course, doctors don't know much about frozen shoulder because it mostly affects women. It felt like it was about fascia. I could feel it from my wrist right up to my shoulder. My arm would go dead if I made a wrong movement. And so I started investigating. I came across an incredible podcaster, Joanne Avison. Her podcast is called the Joanne Avison Podcast. And she's all about fascia. I binge listened. I learned all about fascia and I love her take on it. Around the same time, I also discovered Eileen McCusick with her tuning forks and her biofield healing work. And intuitively, I felt that tuning forks would work for my shoulder. I felt fascia needed a gentler approach, a subtle, more feminine healing, especially in contrast to the high impact and hardness of my kickboxing, which I had to pause for a few months while I was in recovery. I literally couldn't move my arms much at all. I was embracing a softer, gentler life while I was in recovery. And so I went all in, as usual. I bought Eileen's book, ordered 2 sets of tuning forks, and I started to play with them. Now, I've been an intuitive energy healer for over 25 years professionally. I was in my element. I could feel what the vibrations were doing, not just to my body and my nervous system, but also to my energy field, my biofield, which I can see with my third eye when I close my eyes. I can see yours too when I'm working on you in an energy healing. There are normal tuning forks I used in my field around the outside of my body and weighted ones that I place on my body. And I was doing both, especially on my shoulders, and it was easing the pain. And then I thought, what if I used my fork on my toe? So I placed a weighted tuning fork at the base of the nail and held a light intention that it be restored to perfection, perfect healthy cells again. Well, the body recreates itself completely every 7 years after all, so why not recreate perfection instead of that old injury? 2 days later, the skin around the nail went red, inflamed. The skin started to peel. Within a week, that weird upward growing nail began to fall off. I helped it along with my file. A few days later, I could see a normal nail beginning to grow. I was amazed. And I'm a healer. I've seen and facilitated all kinds of healings, but I had believed for over 30 years that this nail was permanently damaged. Yet I also have a deep belief in healing. And I was developing a strong belief in the power of tuning forks. And I have a strong belief in my own healing intentions for myself and others. And it was like those belief scales tipped in the other direction from injury toward healing. And to my surprise, it worked. And now I have a brand new nail, and it's almost perfect. And I tell you this story in full because it shows how out of alignment I was back then. I didn't know myself. I was making choices that weren't really mine. I was following a societal blueprint instead of my own path. I hadn't even begun my healing emotionally yet. And I believed doctors more than I believed my own inner guidance. And that's the perfect recipe for a physical problem. But for the last 25 years, I've been walking my true spiritual path. I let it all go. I let my guides guide me to healing, to moving to the other side of the world, to starting this business, to deep emotional healing, to knowing myself fully, to stepping into my own power, to starting this podcast. Pair that with the belief in healing, and that's the perfect recipe for physical healing. So here I am, walking my talk, healing my toenail, and telling you this story to help you recognize the recipes in your own life for both problems and for healing. Because if there's one thing I know about you, it's this. You have the power to heal yourself too. Your beliefs are a complex balance, and you can tip that balance too. Never forget that. And if this episode stirred something in you, if you feel that my belief plus your belief in healing might be the perfect combination for your healing, I offer private energy healing sessions. The link is in the show notes if you feel called. So thanks for joining me today. And I'll see you next week where we'll go even deeper into stopping giving your power away to others. And I'll see you then.